Liverpool fan in Japan.
Hello YouTube, Liverpool fan in Japan here, the Miyazaki man, Sai. Magnitude 6.9 earthquake just smashed us. There's a tsunami warning on the mobile phone. Oh well, we're safe. Hey ho, only some toys fell down. Okay, let's get back to the video. There's a lot of furore around Martin Zubimendi potentially going to Liverpool, but let's temper expectations into who actually does the Liverpool lean, right? Hopefully he's in one of the top 3 leans like Kolo Toure. But in this video, I aim to explain what kind of player Martin Zubimendi is and what effect he'll have on Liverpool's midfield and Arne Slot's tactics in terms of the slot machine. So let's get into it. Before we do, there seems to be a lot of misconceptions around the type of player Martin Zubimendi actually is. He's not the new Alonso, because Alonso pings long balls like a dream onto a sixpence from deep. In fact, Trent is more alike to Alonso than Martin Zubimendi. Martin Zubimendi is better as a short passing machine, a metronome, a tempo maestro at the base of the midfield to offer control, to offer composure, to offer calmness. And he is one that facilitates the players around him to play better because he'll get the balls into the right position. He'll invite pressure onto himself. In fact, he's one of the best players with his back to goal in world football at the moment, alongside Rodri. And that is typical of the type of player, being a Spaniard from the Basque country as well in the national setup. You saw when he came on in Euro 2024 finals, he really turned the game with his ability to dispossess England, turn over the ball and get Spain on the front foot. But he's not one to ultimately play the through ball progressively again and again. He has good progressive passing, but he actually is quite good at aerial duels. He wins a vast amount of aerial battles considering his height, which is a really outstanding attribute to have at the base of midfield. Fabinho showed how important it was, because it adds that third pivot fulcrum at the base with Van Dijk and a Konate or a Quansah to aerially challenge any long ball for the long ball playing teams, especially the lower tiers of the Premier League, who will punt the ball up high to contest the second ball, for example. But saying that he's not like Alonso, he's probably more like a Sandro Tonali at Newcastle, right? More like a Marco Verratti. I think he really fits the Verratti role in terms of being able to take the ball off the defence and pivot the ball into prominent areas to allow us to build our attacks. He won't be that direct point of end-to-end assist of the assist, but he will be the one involved in the majority of the build-up, because he will expect the ball to his feet again and again and make sure the ball keeps ticking like a metronome, and he'll put the right weight on the ball, the right passing tempo. And he's definitely a better distributor, I would say, in the deeper areas than Maka or Endo. Because whereas Endo will get the ball and play it simply like a traditional defensive midfielder, Zubimendi will have the peripheral vision to make sure the ball is executed like a proper technician, controlling the overall narrative of the game. And Maka is definitely one that likes to progress the ball forwards more quickly than someone like Zubimendi. So Maka will play between the lines, and I'm going to prototype each one of Liverpool's midfielders to show you what we have. This is a channel with substance and abundance, and I'm going to compare the Liverpool midfield to that dream midfield of AC Milan back in the day with Pirlo, Seedorf, Gennaro Gattuso and Ricky Kaká. So let's get onto the tactics board. So while I'm setting this up, let's get through some misconceptions. So obviously, I know it's very, very good to note that he rejected Arsenal twice, and he rejected Barcelona as well to replace Busquets, but actually it was his dream to represent Real Sociedad, his home country, the Basque country, in the Champions League, and he achieved that dream last season. So that's one of the reasons. Another one of the reasons is that the Real Sociedad team is getting gutted this season. Ruben Lenormand has transferred out. It looks like Mikel Moreno will be going as well, maybe to Arsenal. He's coming into his prime now, 25 years old, the absolute peak of his powers. So it makes sense for him to make that next step and be an important player, because he'd be contesting with Partey, he'd be contesting with Declan Rice and Jorginho. Whereas at Liverpool, he is predominantly the tempo maestro, the deep lying playmaker, the orchestra, the conductor of the play from the base. Now, if I just put him in here as Zubi and have a look at some of our midfield options. So Zubimendi would profile very similar to a Pirlo and AC Milan. He'd take the ball off the defence. The midfielders would be looking to give him the ball and let him conduct and control the course of play and the passages of play. And it's very important because he would be in charge of distribution. Now, one of the key things that people need to understand is, as a single pivot, you need to cover both laterals, right? Cover both laterals. Something that Wataru Endo is very good at doing. Something a traditional or athletic midfielder would be very good at doing, to cover Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example. However, Zubimendi is not the most mobile. He's an average player in mobility, so he wouldn't be expected to do that, because in a double pivot, which you start off with, you have less space. You've already controlled the space, so you marginally have your own zones to defend when you're left back, right back, bomb forward. So the double pivot works well in terms of build-up play, and as I showed you in the last video, you've got a cube here in terms of your square is at the base of the midfield. It's not a box in the middle with the two number 8s. It's a cube here until this one progresses into the half space or Zubimendi roams into that half space as well. So if Zubimendi is the Pirlo distributing the ball at pace and with intent, who else forms the Pirlo function in the Liverpool team? Tyler Morton. Tyler Morton is very, very good at taking the ball and distributing it as well, as is Stefan Bajcetic. But Bajcetic is actually a phenomenal player because he is a multifunctional player that can operate in the half spaces, on the whips, at centre back, hit a long ball and hit the ball through the lines as well. In fact, Bajcetic and Maka are probably more prominent and better at hitting the ball through the lines than Zubimendi, but Zubimendi has a better short ball, short passing game. He isn't the most offensive, he isn't the most creative, but he's an absolute safe pair of legs that will control the ball, a trusted player who is ultimately press resistant, does not get dispossessed, does not lose the ball and does not make mistakes. His first touch is super assured. He is a technician of the finest caliber. And it seems as though Tyler Morton will be sold to offset Zubimendi, not because Tyler Morton isn't talented or that he has a high ceiling or high potential, but for the fact that he just won't get the minutes. He will not get ahead of a lot of players in his position. And he's of the age now, he's not super young, he needs to be playing regularly. So if we can get a good sell-on fee or even a buyback clause, it'd suit everybody. It's a shame, he's talented, he looked great for Hull as well, alongside Fabio Carvalho, but Zubimendi is of a much higher caliber for the now entering his prime. Zubimendi is the type of player who will become world-class in a quality Liverpool system and become part of an important Liverpool system. But he's a number 6 that needs to be facilitated by the system. He's not a be-all and end-all dominant force, but will make players play better. Now, I mentioned that Zubimendi is not the most optimistic or creative in terms of passing forward, but his passing forward is accurate. He will get the ball to feet. He will be mobile and move around, but so will Wataru Endo. Now, this is an interesting one because Endo has been apparently marginalised by Arne Slot. Now, this is rumours, right? This is unsubstantiated speculation. There's a lot of furore around it, how Endo will get moved on. I've seen it in the comments below. Everyone knows I love Wataru Endo. He has clear strengths and clear weaknesses as well. But Endo performs a Gennaro Gattuso role because he will go forward to press the opposition higher up in the prominent 8 positions, and he does cover the lines incredibly well as well, and his passing is a very accurate to feet. He's always broken the lines into Szoboszlai, into McAllister, into Gravenberch as well. Zubimendi and Wataru Endo are able to progress the ball with short, incisive passing, although Endo's ball speed is not as good as Zubimendi or Maka. But what you also get with this combination here is aerial dominance, because Zubimendi is surprisingly dominant in the air for his size, and Wataru Endo leaps like a spring salmon to head away danger as well. So any long balls from oppositions, especially of the lower tier in the Premier League, will be cleared by Van Dijk, Kwanzaa, Kanate, Zubimendi and Wataru Endo. I'm pretty confident of that. And they can cover the laterals as well if they target our midgets at the fullback position. And I really think the talks of selling Wataru Endo or trying to move him on are premature, because who else is your experienced defensive midfield destroyer? And who else will do the man-marking role? And what financial benefits will you get from selling a Wataru Endo, an experienced head who won't complain? And even if he doesn't get the minutes that people seem to be banging on about, even if he plays 10 Premier League games a season, that's a potential 30 points, which is a huge amount. Even if he comes on for the final 10-15 minutes to see a game out, isn't that very prominent and vital? The Lucas Leiva role when he was aging as well. And Endo will never complain. He'll be a viable option, and he can start on an occasion as well, and he can lead the kids to Cup glory. As I mentioned when we first signed him, he'll be the first cheerleader for Stefan Bajcetic, for Zubimendi to perform. He'll do his job, he'll perform hard in training, he'll come on, no questions asked, he'll do any role and any function, and it's a squad game. Ultimately, who would you want at defensive midfield? Curtis Jones, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch or Wataru Endo, alongside Zubimendi or to cover for Zubimendi? He has a role to play, so I'm not sure where the furore is coming from. And additionally, in his exclusive vlog on his online official media in Japan, he talks about Arne Slot's plans for him as well, and his function for the coming season, and his role and expectations from Arne Slot, and what he needs to do to adapt to that style of play. But he's looking forward to the challenge. He's a man that will fight for his place. So yeah, come at me, bros, with the comments down below saying Endo will be gone again. Let's wait and see. If he's gone, well, I'm a Liverpool fan first and foremost. I trust the big heads in charge, but let's see what happens. So Endo falls into the Gennaro Gattuso role. Does anyone else? Not really, because then you look at Clarence Seedorf. Now, Clarence Seedorf is one of the most underrated players in world football, starting in the Real Madrid youth system, absolutely shining for Inter Milan and then AC Milan. Clarence Seedorf, for me, is one of the best players of all time, and even now, age 40 or 50, his touch, his technique in the charity games, worlds apart. The Dutch have quality in abundance. Now let's play Curtis Jones, for example, and Maka. We have a lot of players in this position. Who would you say is like a Clarence Seedorf? Can operate in all areas of the field, receives the ball anywhere, play the ball forward, but can also shoot and also get an assist and perform any function. A technical god. Jones has the attributes for it, but he doesn't impose himself as much. Maka is definitely of that sort of player as well. Szoboszlai is more akin to a Kaká because he has that burst of acceleration. He has the ability to hit that long range shot. He has the ability to run down the lines and pass the strike as well. But the only thing that Szoboszlai doesn't have that Ricky Kaká had is that exquisite long range through ball, either over the top or on the floor as a daisy cutter. Do you remember Kaká in this situation absolutely roasted Carragher? That ball into Crespo, in and behind, chip over Dudek. This is a Liverpool video, I'm digressing a little bit. But yeah, we unfortunately do not have that player. We had that player in Thiago Alcantara, but he could not stay fit. We don't have a player who really hits that low ball through the lines, except for maybe a Trent Alexander-Arnold or Maka from deep, or even a Diogo Jota, but he starts it slightly higher up instead of deeper. Mo Salah needs to be closer to the goal. We don't have a deep lying playmaker in the midfield who hit that long through ball. We just don't have that profile, unfortunate. But Kaká is one of a kind. So the player that profiles most similar to Kaká is a Szoboszlai in this position. We have plenty of Seedorfs. Curtis Jones, Gravenberch. Now he should really idolise Seedorf, right? His countryman, being Dutch and all. Alexis McAllister is the closest we have to the total baller that Seedorf has, and probably that's a really good comparison as well. So that puts even more emphasis on the Szoboszlai at the top of the diamond, attacking midfielder, playmaking role. And Harvey Elliott does have that through ball from deep and through ball over the top, and ability for an eye for a pass, but he doesn't have the acceleration or speed or the fleet of foot or the dribbling ability of a Kaká. Really, really special player. And as you can see, we just don't have that Gennaro Gattuso rugged ball winner who just facilitates a Zubimendi to roam around, which is why I think Endo is important. But then again, Arne Slot might go with ballers and say that the system is designed to defend opposition teams and the shape will defend them, in which case you have a Jones deep, you have a Maka deep, you have a Szoboszlai deep, even Gravenberch on occasion, though Gravenberch will probably be higher up because his unpredictability is probably more well versed in the offensive third, because if he makes a mistake in our third, that wouldn't be pretty. But coming back to Zubimendi, the fact that he is a pass master that can have his back to goal and is of supreme IQ, he would have scouted his surroundings around him. I wish we had Kaká there. I'm going Kaká for Kaká. Let's change that to Szoboszlai for now and put Maka in here. Now that composure at the base, and I know people didn't want to see Maka in a deep six position or deep lying playmaking position, but in fact, there's intelligence and technical flair throughout there, because if the ball comes out to a Zubimendi, who will bop it off to Andy Robertson, who hit it to the front man, which means Maka goes in the half space here. Zubimendi has a free roll and free reign to go here, considering the opposition will be darting back and getting back into position in front of him. In which case, this is where you stretch the opposition with your Trent Alexander-Arnold. Everyone steps up and pushes, and Zubimendi will ultimately be the conductor of the orchestra, pinging the balls around until there's a prime opportunity to hit the ball through the lines to your left wing or your right wing or over top to the striker. And the thing with Zubimendi is, even though he's not the most creative, his progressive passing when given the opportunity really stands up well to the highest players in world football. You're talking Frenkie de Jong and Toon Koopmeiners as the prominent players with such high metrics of progressive passing. There's charts for it, you can see it yourself. In which case, you'd probably see him breaking the lines with passes when he gets himself into positions to find the Maka and Szoboszlai in the half spaces, or get the ball to the player who can find Szoboszlai and Maka in the half spaces. And that is where Arne Slot's system absolutely shines, because when he overloads this line of play right here, that's when you slide in your Núñez, when you slide in your Lucho Diaz or Gakpo or your Mo Salah as well, and cause the damage on these verticals to bring it back. And as a recycling ball player, when you see a Maka and a Zubimendi as the ball recyclers, or a Gravenberch or Szoboszlai for a long shot and unpredictably, and a Curtis Jones to kind of do the Anthony pirouette, no, I'm only kidding, he'll have a big role to play this season, or Harvey Elliott to slide the ball through, then it's a delicious subset of midfielders, and you can really call Liverpool's midfield a position of strength from this season. And what you also get from Arne Slot's system with Zubimendi and Maka is control. So Jurgen Klopp's teams are slightly guilty of not being able to see a game out with control. Zubimendi and McAllister, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, Kwanzaa would bring supreme control and dictation of a game, which will allow us to see the game out and possession-based football and ole ole ooh la la kind of ball, which would be fun on occasion, especially against a Man United if we're 7-0 ahead. But no, we want to go for the throat. We want 8-0. So the double pivot really suits Zubimendi well because you can have the high presses, the aggressive presses like Wataru Endo and Maka chasing the opposition and hounding them from the advanced 8 position while he just roams into the space behind him as an intelligent shadow to receive the ball as an out, to always be available as an option. And he'd be a trusted option with a great first touch, great vision, great composure to distribute the ball around as well. And you'd imagine that he'd grown to his role and responsibility because this team is full of leaders and he strikes me as the leader type, that cool head that will guide his teammates through the game. And I really think of the batch of midfielders that we currently have, only Wataru Endo and actually Harvey Elliott are really vocal in terms of directing the players of where they want to go. Gravenberch is a little bit shy. Maka lets his ball work do the talking. Szoboszlai makes his physical runs and lets his athletic prowess do the talking. So it's only really Zubimendi and Endo that shout out in that midfield alongside Harvey Elliott, which is a surprising factor, right? And let's not forget that Stefan Bajcetic is a Spanish maestro in the making as well. So who are a better player to learn from than Zubimendi and Bajcetic growing up together to form the basis of the midfield for years to come, which really allow Maka and Gravenberch to operate between the lines and Szoboszlai and Elliott at the top and Curtis Jones to roam in between them as well, with Bajcetic and Zubimendi at the base. Because I'm realistic to understand that Endo isn't a long-term solution, but he has a role to play next season. And then you've got players on the fringe as well like James McConnell and Bobby Clark. And eventually Troy and Yoni, who will be a big addition to this midfield. Because he's the athletic, technical, world-class player in the making that really looks like a young Cesc Fabregas. And isn't that exciting? So I'm going to reset the board and let's look at Zubimendi with the different players in midfield and how we'd build up the attack. Now you guys know me and you know I love my kit and my merch. So we've got to open one up. I've got to get through them eventually. Still got about 30 or so to get through. So let's... Hang on a minute. That's Hello Kitty in a Liverpool outfit. What a pleasant surprise. That's a 3D Hello Kitty miniature bag. It's like a lunch bag or something. Finally, Kitty-chan has a companion. She can wear this. In fact, my little one will probably wear this. Look at that. My goodness. That is exquisite. Beautiful. Look at that. It's even got kitty tassels for the zip. How rare must this thing be? Mesh, I'm sure the shoulder strap is in there. But it's a 3D kitty in the Liverpool outfit. Probably of the same promotion as that. Exquisite. Now I'm going to treasure this. I do need a new piece of kit, so I'm going to get a kit on too. So let's open this one, see what it is. It's white. It's got a Carlsberg. Must be retro. White is usually an away kit, isn't it? And this is... Uh-oh. Now this kit is beautiful. It looks a bit big. But it's bad boy Bellamy. I remember Bellamy in his second stint really saving us on many occasions, scoring goals off the left wing for Kenny Dalglish. Bad boy Bellamy number 17. Looks a little bit big, but let's get this on. Okay, fresh. And the bad boy. White and green actually looks pretty nice. You can see it's been through some wear and tear, a little bit of sticky patches from the labelling. It is a little bit old school, but nothing a wash or two can't fix. And the embroidered turquoise, really nice, right? So yes, before I go on to how Zubimendi will play alongside all of Liverpool's midfielders on the tactics board, I'm fairly confident the deal must be advanced for Paul Joyce to tweet it out. However, because we're trying to structure the payment terms, it does give the opposition, Arsenal for example, a chance to hijack the deal. So hopefully they get their move on as well, to get into the groove and get Zubimendi leaning at the AXA Training Academy. Because I don't want to go through another Caicedo ordeal. However, saying that, we were interested in Caicedo, and you've got to imagine that the ideal midfield would have been Caicedo with McAllister and Szoboszlai in front of him. And we know what happened there, but Caicedo had his head turned by Chelsea because they were pursuing him and giving him all the feel-good feelings and the London factor for the whole prolonged period, whereas Liverpool probably thought he was already going to Chelsea, which is why we pulled back our interest and probably didn't show him the love. Whereas Zubimendi, you've got to imagine that they've been doing the groundwork to get Zubimendi in through the front door, and Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards provide that overall holistic infrastructure of quality, competence and professionalism, and they wouldn't let him slip, surely, right? Last season we didn't have Edwards and Richard Hughes or even Julian Ward at the club, so it's a bit of a kerfuffle, a bit of a mess. And George Schmadtke would have done his best with the hand that he'd be dealt, but you know, there's been a lot of change in the backroom area, but now we've got a proper setup in. Richard Hughes is keen to make an impact. I can't see this one going awry, so come on, get the news in. Zubimendi signing by the end of the week. And there's been news of the financial instruments that would allow us to pay Real Sociedad up front. I mean, they've got no incentive to allow us to structure terms unless they get a significantly higher fee, right? But we could get a loan company to pay off the fee up front and just pay back the loan company over time with some added interest. It's a Liverpool way. Lots of credit facilities, lots of financial instruments. So the fee won't be a problem. It's just around him saying yes to Liverpool, which I believe he already has. So get in. Okay, so in the bad boy Bellamy shirt, I don't want to spend too long on this, but I want to show you the various shapes, right? So Zubimendi is not the physical specimen that a Caicedo is, and he would need some protection. So let's go with Maka, which I believe is probably the sensible choice to partner him in the first example. So McAllister will probably play between the lines more laterally, more vertically, more in this kind of direction, covering with Zubimendi. Zubimendi will be expected to take the ball from Maka, but Maka can take it off the centre-backs as well, because Zubimendi is more press resistance, better with back to goal, and probably a better short ball distributor. Maka does occasionally lose the ball on the turn or transition as well. So you'd imagine that our first choice midfielder is either Szoboszlai or Harvey Elliott, depending on how highly Arnslot rates Elliott as a starter. So with this kind of setup, you think they'd probably play laterally together off the ball to cover the zones, make sure that the opposition go out wide, and then when they're out wide, press with the fullback and the left winger to have that kind of triangle closing on the opposition and pin them in, and hopefully they go back or go down a blind channel and deliver a weak ball for Allister to grab, or try pull back, which hopefully Van Dijk or a defensive midfielder of the other one will intercept, and off we go, transition and play. Okay, so with Maka, it's fairly straightforward, and you'd imagine on the press that Maka enters this realm of influence with Zubimendi backing up. He'd probably be an intelligent shadow with Konate operating in this kind of zone here, and Szoboszlai looking to link up with the front man, whether it's Nunes or Gakpo or Jota, are floating in around the edge of the area alongside a roaming 10, either Salah or Lucho Diaz or Gakpo, and playing the passing game that way. So you'd imagine these are kind of prominent positions that they take, and Maka in the right half space was truly effective, which is why we shunted Szoboszlai over to the left towards the latter part of last season. Although Szoboszlai on the right hand side can deliver a mean ball as well and overlap for Salah, so there's room to implement, chop and change and see what happens. But Zubimendi will probably be the deepest of the three. Now let's look at Gravenberch. Now Gravenberch being a physical powerhouse running through the lines as well, similar to Szoboszlai, legs receiving the ball, hard to dispossess, burst of pace and acceleration, and liking to get the ball in front of him. You'd expect a ball player, controller, Maka to be alongside him, and Gravenberch will probably be the one with more free reign to roam, similar to Szoboszlai, except for the fact that instead of playing in the traditional 10 position, I think he'd be more of a left-sided 8 position, doing the vertical lines in this sort of way, the way he burned past Rodri to hit the ball square into a Mo Salah, who would create, shoot, or slide in a Nunes or a Jota, or play it over the top for sliding Luis Diaz or Jota from the left, for example, or Cody Gakpo. But in this instance, I think Zubimendi needs to do a covering job, the intelligent shadow, like what Endo did, to facilitate Gravenberch to roam in and out of this kind of arc here, because Gravenberch is unpredictable, whether his passing game is on point, whether he's chasing and pressing into the shadows, or as part of a functional system. I think Zubimendi will always need to be the outlet for Gravenberch to rotate, to move the ball around, so the ball can be facilitated, go down the line again, and off you go to number 10, and off you play again, because I don't think Gravenberch's possession and passing game is as mature as a McAllister or a Zubimendi. So it'd probably be a Zubimendi or Maka, probably Zubimendi playing deeper, backing him up as the intelligent shadow, as an outlet, as an option to get the ball moving again if Gravenberch can't progress the ball with a run or his power or his physical attributes. In this system, I can't imagine Zubimendi overlapping and outgunning a Gravenberch or Maka in this system, because Maka is definitely more prominent in the 10 position as a shooter and as a through ball player. Zubimendi is more of the assister to the assist than a Gravenberch who would want to get on the end of the moves, or Maka who will want to be the one to make the actual assist. And then we'll go over Harvey Elliott. But if we go over Harvey Elliott, this is where I think Endo has a big role to play as well, because what you have with Harvey Elliott is creative genius, fleet of foot, ability to play between the lines, but you lose something on the defensive third, but not for a want of lack of effort, but for the fact that even though he presses, he can get bypassed. So if Elliott was to play, and I'll put Harvey Elliott here, I think this is where you introduce your Endo, right? And in this case, Elliott predominantly would probably be right-sided 8, and some people might think that Endo is the base to destroy things, and he can be, but even in this case, I think probably with the introduction of Zubimendi, you'd back Zubimendi to take the ball off the centre-backs more than Endo. You'd probably have Zubimendi deeper and Endo in this kind of function, and Endo to be the intelligent shadow to Harvey Elliott to allow Elliott to roam into the half spaces from the A position to overlap, and Endo covering him here, because what Endo can do that Zubimendi can't is Endo is much better at pressing high opposition, pressing the deep line playmaker, pressing a Rodri, tracking a De Bruyne running through the lines, tracking an Ebrecht Eze, or receiving the ball on the half turn in this position and playing into the number 8. But what you get with this system as well is Zubimendi will most likely venture forward, so he might play the give and go to get the ball in a prompt position, because Endo can cover for a Zubimendi who ends up in this position. But Zubimendi isn't the type to really dribble the opposition. He will make the half space, use his physicality, work the angle to play the ball through the line, to play the ball through the fullback, and try to play make and try to influence the game higher up, a la Thiago Alcantara when he's further up as well. A kind of chess Fabregas, except for the fact that Zubimendi doesn't have the fleet of foot dribbling ability that Thiago and Fabregas has, but he's got composure and the right type of short passes to dink the ball into our players in position. And you'd imagine that these two at the base provide you the superior defensive shield when we're under siege, the aerial prowess to dominate any long ball team, and the ability to hit the balls through the lines as well and on the laterals to get us going, get us playing, and they can rotate and interchange. And it's not saying that Maka can't interchange, but obviously Endo is more defensively reliable and solid, and especially better aerially than Maka. So when Maka is there, Maka is the one that will roam forward, and when Endo is here, it'll be Zubimendi and Endo rotating, because Endo plays that role for Japan anyway, alongside a secondary defensive midfielder playmaker. But what they will really do is allow Elliott the freedom to roam and dominate and play with Mo Salah, play with Darwin Núñez, play with Diogo Jota as well, and get into those prompt positions to really affect the goal scoring metrics of the game. And now Curtis Jones would be really, really interesting, and I would probably imagine that Curtis Jones will get in the lineup, and it'd be quite surprising that Curtis Jones will be the rotational option with all of the midfielders. And what you have with Zubimendi, Maka and Jones is absolute technical ability of the highest caliber of ball retention and ball playing and rotating the ball. So if you want to see out a game, you go with something like this for the fact that Jones, Zubimendi and Maka are all press resistance and all can shift the ball and shovel the ball and retain the ball. And you probably imagine that Jones is the highest of the three, just for the fact that Maka has more experience playing the deep lying role. But Jones and Maka will be either side of Zubimendi and a reliable ball to feet. And Jones will probably look to carry the ball and hold on to the ball a little bit longer and get into advanced positions, because Jones in this kind of position is much more effective than Maka, because Jones can predominantly dribble and work the shooting chance, whereas Maka, with his intelligence and IQ, will find the pockets to get the shooting chance. But Jones is more apt and able to dribble his way into a shooting chance or play the cute 1-2s and receive the ball in the box. So I'd find that Jones is a much better baller in terms of being able to receive the ball anywhere on the pitch and have an offensive contribution, because he grew up in the ranks as an attacking midfielder, right? Whereas Maka is a multi-purpose utility midfielder who just facilitates the team, with the penchant of scoring a long-range cracker as well. But in this regard, I don't think Zubimendi really needs to cover Jones in that regard, because Jones is quite good at ball retention when he's on his game. And he does like to link up with Lucho Diaz and Cody Gakpo, and he's got a little bromance with Cody Gakpo as well. So probably be Zubimendi in the arc in front of the defence, just rotating and moving the ball to the other prominent areas of the pitch and acting as that pivot, as that metronome, as that outlet, and letting these boys do their thing on the edge of the area as the pseudo number 10s. And then you can get to the fringe players like Stefan Bajcetic as well, who will evolve from a fringe player, but he's more or less a pseudo Maka in that he can operate between the lines as a 6 and 8 as well. But I don't know how much he'll feature as a starting player, so that's yet to be seen. So hopefully Zubimendi does come and he makes an evolution from a great player to a world-class player of the highest prominence and really announces himself on the world stage as a rival to Rodri, which is a huge compliment. But either way, he's a solid, reliable player that's really good at passing, really disciplined, works really, really hard, and coming to his prime. And I'm really looking forward to it, because it now makes our midfield a position of strength, alongside right back, with great firepower from the left wing, Mo Salah, the world-class talent on the right wing, looking absolutely rejuvenated as well, alongside Harvey Elliott in the number 10 with Szoboszlai, with Diogo Jota if he can stay fit, and Núñez being good options up front, even though it may not be the strongest area. And we have enough coverage at centre-back as well, with Van Dijk and Quansah and Konate, with Endo filling in at the back as well. And Sepp Vandenberg hopefully staying around. Left back, we've got enough choices there, and right back is a position of strength, with Alisson Becker and Kelleher as long as he stays, with Jaros filling up the ranks of goalkeeper. So our squad is formidable and strong, and really a world-class playmaker at the base of the midfield who's not afraid to get his foot on the ball, always demands the ball, wanting the ball, and playing a short ball game at Arne Slot. Sounds delicious to me. LFC's Marco Verratti. Liverpool FC's Marco Verratti. Probably a better version of Sandro Tonali. And get this, the last player we signed from La Liga, believe it or not, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, was Alberto Moreno, 2014, 10 years ago. Does that ring a bell? Sevilla? 18, 19 million thereabouts. Who else have we signed from La Liga? I don't want to count Stefan Bacic because he's a youth player. So first team player from La Liga was Alberto Moreno. Yeah. So yeah, smash the like. Really helps the video get seen. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to do an exclusive members video for the members section on Wataru Endo's next chapter in his dual book. But also, he had the conversation with Arne Slot, who's depending on him for this season, explained his role and how he needs to adapt his function for the coming season, and Arne Slot's expectations of him. So this premature talk of Endo leaving, don't know where it's coming from. Until next time, Miyazaki man, Ichiban. It means the best. And until next time, Janet means see you later.